Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look at a new Kickstarter I just received, and it's getting out to everybody now. And if you were in on the Kickstarter, you should be seeing your copy very soon. This is America Falling, the Coming Civil War. It is published by One Small Step Games, designed by Ty Bomba. And if you're familiar with Ty, you know that he is very big on what-if scenarios, and this is one that is very unique. There's not a lot of current or modern American Civil War what-if games, and that's what drew me to this one. It is a game for 1 to 2 players. It's age 14 and up. Playing time is 4+ hours, and the background to the game, it says 2 players simulate the entire first year of a hypothesized near-future civil war across all of the lower 48 states. One player commands the conservative red forces while the other leads the liberal blue forces. The rules also allow for a possibility of local separatist movements erupting independently of those 2 main factions, including the Republic of Texas, go Texas, the Islamic State in America, New Jerusalem, Aslan, La Raza, the Aryan Nations, New Africa, and Ecotopia. Conflict can take place with conventional armaments as well as weapons of mass destruction. Cyber warfare is a constant. Of course, again, if you're familiar with Ty, Ty likes to introduce nukes into his games, so I'm going to guess that's what we're going to see in this one. Let's go ahead and open it up. The thing I'm familiar with on it is reading through the rule book that was posted up. I read through briefly at the beginning of it. It seemed a little different and a little unique, so I wanted to give this one a go and see what it offers. Inside the box we have the rule book, color rule book. It's always nice. We'll come back to that in a moment. We've got 2 maps, 2 map sections, a whole bunch of Ziploc baggies, which we'll put over here on the side, a couple of dice, and we've got our counters. We've got 3 counter sheets, and it looks like these player aids, or we've got some different player aids. This is action summary tables on this one. Looks like these are 2 of the same, double-sided. You got your tack on one side and some other tables on this side, and then we've got Eastern, Western map, and city status table. So it looks like these are meant to be written on. These are nice cardstock, laminated. Still, I would say make copies of them if you're going to write on them, or laminate them yourselves and use dry erase markers, which is what I like to do with a situation like that. So let's pop open these maps real quick and take a look at that. This here, probably won't be able to see the entire map at this angle, but you at least get a feel for it. This is the western United States, and we've got all the way from Sioux Falls out to Cheyenne, Dodge City, down to Austin and San Antonio, into the Gulf of Mexico down here, and then the Mexican border is right here as well. This is the western states. That I remember when this was talked about at first, it doesn't cover the entire United States. It covers up to the Rockies, and west of that is going to be a lot more abstract and just show the main cities for control rather than actually going over and having major areas like we saw here. And then we're going to open up this map. Take a quick look at that, and there's Florida right there. And this is the eastern seaboard up into Canada. You can see here, it goes all the way up to Canada, to upstate New York, right there, and all the way westward into, I guess, Illinois and Louisiana, and then southward into Florida. You got your terrain effects chart here on the map as well, and then we have the atomic attack table. So yes, nukes are in the game, Great Lakes and inland waterway freeze tables. So I guess part of that will be part of it too as far as movement goes. I'm going to assume having a freeze table, either that or they're going to have a big hockey tournament on it, which I'd be all for, because there's fighting in that game too. So let's take a look at the rulebook. America Falling, the coming Civil War, then back again. We're going to go right to the nuclear sign, and then on the front, a very dramatic cover. We have airborne troops landing. We have an Army trooper here firing at someone. It looks like he's shooting at the guy that's coming down from the sky in an airborne assault. And we'll start off here. We've got table of contents, and goes through all the different sections, components, set up in hex control, winning and losing, attack and defend, yada yada yada. So all that. And the first thing that jumps out at me, I'm not sure if it jumps out at you, but it should when I give you a closer look. What the heck is up with that typeface? That is incredibly small. That is really small, like too small. I'm not really great at guessing font size, but that's bringing it in closer. That looks like maybe at maximum 8. I would say probably more like a 6. It's very small. And let's see, is it all the way? Yeah, it's all the way throughout. And that's definitely not great, because I don't know about you guys, but if I'm reading a rule book while I'm playing a game, I'll have the book open like this, and it'll be sitting over here, and I'll glance at it, I'll pull it over, and I'll read. This is the type of font size where I'm going to have to actually pick it up and bring it very close and read, because I wear progressive glasses, so I've got to get just the right angle to read as it is. But that's not very. It's not a great thing. Some great pictures in here, but I think maybe if they had taken the pictures out and utilized the space, they definitely should have gone with a larger font to make it easier to read. But in the back here, we've got a couple of examples of play, which, if you've listened to any of my other videos before, you know I'm a big fan of that. I really find that very helpful in trying to grok a game. So it's good to see at least 3 examples of play. But let's go back here. We're going to take a look at the sample counters. We have a Marine unit here, and it's the initial setup packs. Unit type is Marine, attack factor 3 and defense factor 3, and the organizational identification. Other unit types we've got here is air assault, infantry, striker units, heavy armor, MEBs, Marine Expeditionary Brigades, fleet headquarters, heavy mech infantry, and city garrisons. And then you have other markers over here, capitals, movement points, cyber war dominance, atomic blast. There we go back to that water body frozen, and terror. So that should be interesting to look through and see. But basically, how this game works, the little bit that I familiarized myself with, the setup is very random. We'll take a look at these counters now, and we'll see. We've got the different factions that are available. I think I had it upside down there. We've got, I'm not even going to guess on which ones all of these are, but we've got anarchists there, and oh, they're written on the side. We've got the Muslim Brotherhood, Christian Republic, Christian Phalange, the Black Muslims, Army of God, Antifa, Anti-Com Action, Anarcho-Capitalist, Anarchists, American Labor Party, American Front, and then on this side we've got Aslan, Ecotopia, New Black Panthers, ISIS, Libertarians, Freemasons, Native American Union, LGBTQ, American Communists, KKK, and Youth International. So it's a pretty wide assortment of different groups that are going to be modeled in this game. So that's always good to see, a nice wide assortment of units. Then we have blast markers, we've got terror markers, and we've got the garrisons and well, on the either side. That's how that's going to work. So let's see if we've got. It seems like it's fairly low counter density when it comes to the actual units. These are the actual combat units. The rest of these are garrisons. The combat units, there's got 61, 2, 3, 4. So we got like 75, I'm going to call it, 74, 75 units. And then on one side we've got the conservative forces. This is the liberal forces on the other side. And they are identical. So like this Heliborn 3-3 is a Heliborn 3-3 there. It starts off 1916 either way is the start hex. So how this works is these counters all get split up into a couple of different containers. You get a couple different cups, you put them in there, and then one at a time each side draws and places them based on where they go. So if it says W3221, you put it in Western map 3221. And it looks like you got a fairly varied assortment of all the different infantry and armor that's available. There's a couple of Marine units, literally a couple. Looks like there's only 2 that I see. Then you have your infantry, airborne, heavy armor, all in there. And like I said, either side, you're going to have either conservative or liberal, and basically whichever side you're going to play as, you will take your counter, you'll draw it out of a cup, you'll place it on the map, and this is all randomized. So that does allow for quite a bit of replayability. As far, it's going to be variable setup every time. You never know how it's going to be, how it's going to start. So depending on the draw, you may end up with a stronger force than the other guy. So that does allow for some interesting challenges. It's also the easiest way probably to deal with a what-if situation rather than to actually try to come up with order of battle and set up hexes, because then you're kind of pigeonholing yourself into what you think is going to be the breakdown if this was the societal breakdown in America was to happen. Although I wouldn't be shocked to see some scenarios come out like that, because it would be great to see either side covered in that way, whether it was conservatives being a little stronger or liberals being a little stronger, or if you want to just break it down by your standard breakdown, which is the coasts are generally more liberal in the bigger cities, and generally the rest of the country through the Midwest tends to be more conservative. If you break it down like the electoral map was, then you could have something, you could follow that and build up scenarios along those lines. But that's how that works. And then you also you draw out, the capital city is going to be Washington for one player, and then the other player will be able to draw a capital and place it anywhere they want. And control of cities is what actually, here we go right here, morale points. Morale points is the driver of the game. Your morale is like your currency. That's what allows you to spend for operations and for material and manpower, things like that, at least from what I recall, the brief bit that I read of this. And you start off with a set amount. It doesn't have here, maybe it has it in the setup. I think it's in the 70 range. Yes. Put both sides morale point markers on 77 boxes of that track on the map sheet. Note the markers have plus 100 in case you go over 99. So you will gain based on city control, and you'll gain your morale points from that, and then you lose them as you use them, and also as you lose cities. We have different bits of the phase. Alternating action phase, separatist phase, and administrative phase. One of the things I thought was a little wonky with this, although I can understand the design idea behind it, is there's really no set you go or I go. It's you basically say who wants to go first, and then if not, then you can bid on it with your morale points, or you can even roll for it. Same with separatist phase, and then you go on to the administrative phase from there. it's one of those things where I guess this is going to be more of a sandbox game, I think, than it is going to be a straight up war game. Obviously, it's going to be a war game, but it's going to be more of a sandbox. So it's going to be free form. You can kind of do with it as you see fit, which is interesting for seeing what everybody can come out of the game with. Each setup's going to be a little bit different. One of the other interesting things I did like was subversion. You can subvert enemy forces, so you can win guys over to your side and try to convert your troops. Just flip them over, and they're now on your side. We've got attack and defense here. Repeat attack, attacker losses. You get a concentric attack bonus. This is something that Ty does in a lot of his games. And then special forces, it looks like he handles it here like he does in a lot of his games, are held off map, and then you secretly commit them to play. And they give you shifts in your combat rolls. So I think that is, it's going to be, it seems like from what I briefly read of it, and what I'm kind of gathering here, it does seem very much along the lines of a standard Ty Bomba game in these what-if situations. So there's atomic attacks, first use. Let's see what this says. For first use, first player to launch an atomic attack during the game must, as soon as he announces that intention, roll 2 dice, deduct that many morale points, from 2 to 12, from his side's total. His opponent then rolls 2 dice and adds that many morale points to his own side's total. Subsequent atomic attacks by either player entail no such morale point award or penalty possibilities. Each simply costs the launching player 1 morale point. So the first time you launch an attack, it's going to cost you. It could be a minimal cost, could be maximum, and it's also going to benefit your opponent. So there could be as much as a 24-point morale point shift, plus the one that you're going to spend, so up to 25, if I'm understanding this correctly from what I'm reading here. You have an ecological collapse at the end of every AAP, during which one or more atomic attacks were launched. Player who launched the last one that turn rolls 2 dice. If the roll total is 12, the game is over because a continent-wide ecological collapse has begun due to the dust thrown into the air by atomic attacks. Player who launched that last atomic attack loses the game and his table stake. Yeah, that's one of the things that Ty does. Talking about the use of atomic weapons, he says basically pony up some cash and throw in that $10 or $20 bill, and whoever uses nukes first or whoever loses in that instance will lose their table stake. So you actually have some real skin in the game, which is a novel idea. Instead of being so flippant about nuke them from orbit. That's the only way to be sure. I love using that comment from Aliens, but in actuality, nuclear weapons are the last thing you want to see used. Any weapons of mass destruction we don't want to see used. So, but that is America Falling, the coming Civil War. Again, the one hang up, at first glance, we'll see how it works as I read, but that one is that's a biggie, having really small font like that. As matter of fact, I have my Lock and Load core rule book here, and I know for a fact that this is 12-point font. So let me get to a page that's pretty heavy text, and we're going to do a little side-by-side comparison. This is a 12-point font, okay? And that is the font from America Falling, side by side. Hopefully you can see that, but that gives you an idea what I'm talking about. That's definitely very, very small. I'm not sure if it's 8 or 6 or what, but that's very small. This is very easy to read, even at kind of a distance. This is something you're going to have to bring right up close to read. And I find that a little disappointing. Actually, very disappointing, because if they eventually release the full updated rules in PDF, hopefully they'll release a less image-intensive one, more printer-friendly, and definitely with larger font, because that is a big drawback. But production quality does look fantastic with this one, and I'm looking forward to getting this one to the table, and I'll put everything back in the box. That is America Falling, the Coming Civil War from One Small Step. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you next time.